Hey everybody, welcome to Drive-Thru Board Game Blog number 45. Today we're going to cover all kinds of cool stuff. We're going to talk about inserts, we're going to talk about painted minis, we're going to talk about play mats, we're going to talk about blinged out components. I got a ton of stuff to show you. I'm very excited to show you. It is fun to sort of trick out and upgrade and enhance your board games. It's pretty fun. Just a couple of quick sort of housekeeping notes. I am sort of starting, I did it one time since Gen Con, the Periscope stuff. My wife and I actually have been watching Periscope. She got really into it. A friend of hers had suggested it, and we watched a whole bunch of cool stuff like there was somebody who was like feeding manta rays off the coast of Florida, and there's another wild animal park in Florida. We were watching them sort of feed the monkeys and the lions there, monkeys, the chimpanzees, and all kinds of crazy stuff like that, and stuff from around the world. And it's very cool because if you haven't heard of Periscope, you basically fire up your phone, you start broadcasting video live, and then people can chat with you with text, and then you can just answer them verbally back, and it's kind of a real super interactive thing. I did one the other day, and it was kind of fun, and so you might see me more on Periscope there. So if you haven't seen it, Rodney Smith, actually Watch It Play, does quite a few Periscopes, and so does Marty Cannell from Rolling Dice and Taking Names. I'm sure there's several other people that do Periscopes. It's kind of a fun, lighthearted, kind of interactive thing, which is a lot of fun. The other thing is I will be doing, I've got several requests to do this. I have the Black Series edition of Star Wars Risk. You can see that here on the way. I will do a comparison video. Speaking of bling, I thought it was sort of appropriate for this video because I believe it looks like all of the components are upgraded. I'm not 100% sure. I thought maybe it was just a few things, but looking at the new details, it looks like, I think everything, cards, board, all the minis, and you know, the stuff that wasn't a mini is now a mini and stuff like that. So let's just jump into all this cool stuff. I'm going to cut away here. You won't see me again. And then we're going to walk through. I'm going to kind of save, not necessarily the best for last, but sort of my sentimental favorite for last. If you watch my top 100 list, maybe it gives you a clue. If not, you can just hang out and we'll look at all this cool stuff, and then I'll talk to you guys later. Now, the first set of items I'm going to show you are inserts from Robert Searing, and I should say I'll have links to all the different places where you can get some of these things that I'm going to show you. This first one is an insert for Agricola, All Creatures Big and Small, and this does include both expansions that you can get for the game. And you can see here everything is very nicely organized. It's compartmentalized. You can pull this out in various different ways. Here we've got the pieces with the player pieces and the fences and the barns, and then of course we can pull this out, and it makes it very easy to randomly figure out which buildings you want to get, and you can just leave everything in the inserts. If you need more sheep, you grab sheep. If you need more wood or stone, you can just grab it right out of the insert box right here, and everything comes out nicely. Very easy, especially for the kind of game, to organize everything and pack it right away, and also helps you with setup. The next one we've got here is Imperial Settlers, and again, this one's going to really help with setup. As more and more expansions are added, you've got the option to deck build with this, so this is really going to help with that. Again, it's got the compartments. You can just pull these out one at a time, set them on the table. You can go and grab the different resources that you have. So he's got it nicely organized with some of the cardboard components versus the wooden components. And then you can see here in the center, there's space for each of the 5 different factions, the 5 decks. And I just have them in here loose. If I wanted to, I could go in and sleeve these, and there'd be plenty of room, and there's plenty of room for the cards you can see in the upper left-hand corner to sleeve those as well. And you can see the player boards tuck in nicely underneath here. Next, we've got the King of Tokyo insert, and this holds all the expansions. I've got all the expansions for it, and these fit in here very, very nicely. And there's actually some more room in here if they ever come out with more characters or promos or even extra cards. This fits all of the dice, even the Halloween dice. It has these cool slits, of course, so you can grab cards very easily. This little compartment pulls out. It's got sort of a little handle, so you can have the cubes and everything ready to go. It's perfect. The board and the instructions are just underneath the insert itself. My box is slightly bowed from use and stuff, so I just tuck these underneath there. The box seals a little bit better that way. Next, we have Roll for the Galaxy. I already showed this one actually on my review, but we'll just take another look at it in case you missed the review. Again, this is the expansion and the base game in it, and everything fits very nicely in here. There's not a ton of room left over, so I'll be curious if there will be room for the insert once another expansion comes out, but it kind of depends on, you know, how they release the expansion. Very nice little slots here for the different dice, also the victory points and the new talent counters. Another thing that makes setup super easy. And you've got, again, the little slits, so up here you can see the starting home tiles and technology tiles up at the top. And then, again, these other containers are able to pull out, and then you can just take and shuffle these right into the draw bag. Finally, the last insert that we have is for the Game of Thrones board game. This is for the second edition. Again, contains all the expansions, although the expansions for Game of Thrones aren't that all hefty. You can see it's got nice compartments to keep this expansion card separated. But the really cool thing about this one is each of these different boxes has all of the various player pieces for the different families in the game. And you just pull these out, you got all the pieces right there. And I will close with saying, the cool thing about this, if you notice this on all of these, I didn't go and refix any of the materials when I laid these flat and showed them. Most of the games I store vertical or upright, and I rarely have to ever put a piece back, you know, in the right spot. And usually if I do, it's like one or two pieces just got kind of jangled from, you know, taking it to game night and all that kind of stuff. So he does a good job of sort of Tetrising all the pieces together so that you can get them out, set them up, put them back, and they don't fall all over the place, and, you know, using the space as efficiently as possible. He does a great job. Okay, the next piece of bling I'm going to talk about are painted miniatures for Imperial Assault. I did a video some time back, several months ago, maybe not quite a year, and a fellow named Ben Waxman on Board Game Geek painted some miniatures for me, and he's painted some more. And I do know that he, you know, does work on commissioning, does all kinds of stuff. Now, I'll put a link to his user profile on the video, and you can go look at a lot of stuff that he's done. This stuff that he's done is really quick and tournament ready. But even given that style, you can actually see as we move through here how improved he is, you know, over the last year in just doing these. And he whipped out a bunch of these for me in a week. I'll mention that when I get to it. He does actually throw in a little dice tray every time he sends me a miniature. So I'm not sure if he does that for everybody, but it's pretty cool to have these little dice trays put together. Now here you can see everything from the base game in wave 1. We'll kind of quickly go through these. I've shown these before, but I just want to kind of show you the evolution here. Here we've got the Imperial officers, and he added this little piece of flair here, like this little blaster fire to differentiate from the two gunners here. Here we can see some stormtroopers, and he did this cool little thing where he painted little stripes on their shoulders to denote the squads. You can see here, these are the sort of the blue team or blue squad. And then here the elites have red shoulder pads, so the red squad is the elite squad. And then here we've got the little lizard dudes. I apologize for not knowing what the name of them is, but these are really cool looking. And then we've got the probe droids here. These look pretty nice. And then we have the Royal Guards, which did a nice job with the shading on. And then these cat creatures, I can't for the life of me remember what they're called. And then here we can see the various heroes that come in the base game. Did a really excellent job on all of these. Of course, Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader did a great job on those. And finally, the coup de grace, so to speak, and then moving into the Wave 1 figures, the ATSTs just did a fantastic job on those as well. And then we have some Rebel Troopers here, and then some more Wave 1 figures painted here, the Saboteurs and the IG-88 droid. And then finally, Chewbacca, and of course, Han Solo, who looks a little bit more blonde here in this lighting, because the light blasting right on him, than he actually does in person. And then moving into the Wave 2 and Wave 3 figures, here we've got our Wookiee strike team, and then a whole mess of stormtroopers. There's even a name stormtrooper you can see in front there. So he did a good job on these, and these are the ones that he just kind of whipped out in a week or less than a week. You can see the Rhodians here. These look fantastic. Then a couple of the Sand People. Great detail there. And then here's some of the new heroes, which I haven't had a chance to play with. These also look fantastic. And of course, R2-D2 and C-3PO. 3PO looks just great. And finally, Boba Fett, who also looks awesome. And then let's just go ahead and get a little shot of his little jetpack there. So like I said, I'll put a link to his profile on BGG. He's done some just above and beyond tournament quality. So, you know, you have miniatures and you get tournament ready, you can play with them. That's what these are. I think these look excellent, especially for that type of quality, all the way up to, you know, like competition quality where you're really comparing paint jobs. And he's got a ton of just fantastic ones he did for Cthulhu Wars and Arcadia Quest and all kinds of games like that. So definitely check them out. Next, I want to show you some card game related items. These first two are playmats. You can see here's Dr. Doom, and these are of course for the Versus 2-player card game which just came out. I got the images from a fella on Reddit, on the Versus Reddit, and then had these printed on inkedplaymats.com. I'll have links to his thread. He made several of these, and I just said, hey, send me the files for these two. I love these two. And then I had them made at inkedplaymats.com. So these are great, and frankly, they're some of the best playmats I've ever seen. I really like how just the images are composed and everything like that, and you really can't go wrong. They're really better than most, official playmats that you see. So next I'm going to show you this case and some other things that go along with this case. Now I'll have links, like I said, in the description. Now this is from R.E.P Industries or R.E.P Gaming, and this case is awesome. I love this case so much. So let's crack it open, and you can see I've got a ton of goodies in here. Right now I've got cards for the new Game of Thrones LCG as well as the new Versus LCG. Or whoops, not LCG, two-player card game. I'm not allowed to say LCG. Now if you take a look inside the case here, you can see there's a lot of stuff. The website boasts 3,500 cards total. Right now I've got two full sets of the Versus core set and then also the Game of Thrones core set. So the Versus set is 400 cards each, that's 800 cards. I forget how many come in the Game of Thrones. Not nearly as many cards. Now you can also see some of these are sleeved. I've got them in deck boxes. I've got tokens put everywhere. This is a handmade case, so it's super sturdy. You can really do damage to somebody if you hit them with this thing. Now you can also see here this steel deck box, which of course fits inside this case, along with this Ultra Pro deck box. So you can really organize this to your heart's content. This case is really something else. It's cold roll steel, which I have no idea what that means, but it's also got a metal piano hinge top. So if you really wanted to bling out a deck and put your best deck inside of here, you definitely could. Anyway, I can't say enough about this case, and just be able to, put your decks in, whip them out, play with, I'm going to play with my Loki deck, I'm going to play with my Thanos deck, just boom, 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 and I've got all my cards very well organized, and it fits everything, tons of cards, all sleeved, even in different deck boxes. Finally, the last thing, and I mentioned this part was a little bit sentimental, it makes use of some of the components here in these different Stonemaier games treasure chests. Now I have two of the three. I think there's three different ones. And I think I might have showed these before, but anyway, these are the two different boxes. You can see, I think this is the first one here. It's got gold and wood and gems and all kinds of cool stuff. And then this was one of the newer ones. It's got cloth and barrels and sacks of spice maybe, and different pails and metals. So with this last batch of upgraded components, I'm finally able to bling out my favorite game of all time, Caelus. Now, not all of the upgraded components come from Stonemaier games. Most of them do. First, you can see the wood here, and all of these replace the cubes, which people give Caelus grief for, understandably. And so you've got some awesome wood, and then finally, here's the coup de grace for me, is the cloth. You have these little bundles of cloth. This is something that I couldn't find in any other upgraded component. You see wood and stone and stuff all over the place from different sources, but hardly do you have anything that goes, that's cloth, I can use that, and this is pretty much the right color. It's very close. It looks very blue here on the camera, but it does have sort of a deeper, almost purple type of look. The next here is the pure stone, and this is one of the things that's awesome about the Stonemaier components is not only do they look like them visually and two-dimensionally, they also look like them three-dimensionally, and they have the texture and shape of what they're representing. And then finally, this last piece here are the gold bars to replace the yellow cubes. Fantastic. These have heft to them. They're awesome to pick up. When you finally get to the point in the game where you're collecting gold, you're like, yeah, I got some gold now. Now, the food could have been supplied from Stonemaier games, but I chose to use this. This is from MeepleSource.com. They do a lot of wooden components. And the only reason I chose this is because I like it. It looks like food. It looks like meat. It looks sort of spammy meat because we always used to call the pink cubes spam when we use them as food. And so they match closer in color. So if I'm teaching new people, I can say, okay, look, see, it's pink, and then you got this sort of, reddish pinkish color here. So it's easy to just, make that connection. Versus like corn or something. There's no corn anywhere in Caelus. Finally, we have the coins, and these are actually officially from Ystari's website. These are like the official Caelus coins that come in the collector's edition. Now, you might say, hey, you've got Caelus. Why don't you love it so much? You want the collector's edition. I hate the look of the board. The collector's edition looks awful. And I don't care what anybody says. This is the best cover of all time. Okay, that's it for all the bling. Any questions or anything, go ahead and shoot them down and I will answer them as best I can. Everybody have a good day. Thank you.